Great, great. Well, thank you, guys, for taking the time this morning, and we want to make it a meaningful conversation. As Steve said, Lakota Group, I should say, Lakota Group is the team leading the update to the Gillson Park Master Plan, but we do have a great group of teammates with us: Andy Tanucci from Tanucci Woodhouse Architect, Walt Hamilton, and Eco and Vision, who is our environmental folks looking at our landscape out at Gillson. Our goal, our process, very simple, is to take a fresh look at Gillson Park. A master plan was done a number of years ago. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. Rather, we're going to revisit the wheel and make sure all the spokes are working properly and well tuned. Our team has spent the better part of the last month or two doing our own site evaluations, walking the site, understanding the site, documenting it in a number of ways, and sharing our thoughts with the board and with staff and other key stakeholders, just to make sure that the topics are relevant and the topics are consistent. And the master plan update is building off of the good experience that the beach house and that whole parking facility has provided the community. We know there's a lot of great things that still need to be done. They fall into the categories of landscape character. They fall into the categories of utilities and infrastructure. They fall into the categories of circulation, access, bike, ped, car, parking, that whole 9 yards. They fall into the category of some really special, unique facilities that we have throughout the park that we want to pay attention to and expand upon, whether that's shelters or specialty garden areas or specialty overlooks or dog parks. And then it focuses on what I think is the most important thing, is understand our relationship with our neighbors and surrounding context. That's why you're here today. You are our neighbors. You are our partner in the bigger picture of operating for the community in the village. And we respect that and understand that there are limitations related to that in terms of how we work together. But today's conversation for us was really to engage you and find out how we can work together better, how we can make sure that we're doing all the right things that support your operation, that there are issues that we should be addressing. And then we have some big picture ideas that we like to think about in terms of, where are our opportunities to improve and expand upon our facilities that may have an impact on you, or we need to understand the thresholds by which you guys will let us work with you. So I've got a great group of people here. Steve's doing a hell of a job running the show, and you guys are clearly, we've had great opportunity to work with you guys on a number of projects in the downtown, Loyola, and other parts of town. So very familiar with the community and the engineering and water treatment folks. We want to make sure that we're hearing you loud and clear and putting your voice into our collective engagement of the community. So that's kind of our overview. We've got pretty pictures and drawings and stuff that we can put up at any time. And I certainly would do that, but I think you guys know your area better than we do. And maybe it's just good to have you introduce yourself, and then we'll jump into some conversation. Dan, or you there?
Okay, I'll start. Sure. As Steve said, I'm Nabil Kwafisha. I'm the Director of Water Management, and I'm located at the water plant. Not today, but usually I'm down by Gillson Park. And I'm looking forward to know more about what are you guys thinking about and what are we doing. And certainly when the time comes, I'll share what some of our concerns perhaps, or some of the things that we would like to point out as we go along.
Great, awesome.
Steve mentioned Dan Manus. I'm the Wilmette Village Engineer. I guess I don't have as much interest in the park as Nabil might have, but how I am most affected by it is I get quite a bit of inquiries about parking around the surrounding streets during the beach season. We have beach season parking restrictions. We used to do this, and they're effective from Memorial Day to Labor Day. We used to post those each year. We switched a year or two ago to permanently posting those restrictions. And just there's a lot of visitors. I think we saw it this past year to the lakefront, and a lot of that parking, those parking demands spilled into the surrounding neighborhoods, and village staff will hear about it from time to time. We are in the final stages of master bike and active transportation plan. I know there was interest from some community members to expand the scope of the village's plan to include the park. So I'm assuming maybe that's something you guys will be looking at, is to how to plan facilities in your park to accommodate all modes of transportation. Our plan really was showing the main access to get people into the park by Lake Avenue. And I think you guys have already done a good job by expanding the sidewalk on Michigan Avenue to kind of accommodate pedestrians and cyclists coming off of Lake Avenue to go south on Michigan and then into the main entrance, an expanded, I think it's 16 or 12 feet wide entrance down the slope, and not necessarily where vehicles are going down on Lake Avenue. Other interests I have as it relates to the park are village's infrastructure, where it surrounds or if it goes into the park. Lake Avenue, as it goes down the hill right by the water plant, was one of our biggest concerns, but we partnered with the park district, and it looks like we were able to take care of that roadway as part of the parking lot project. And then another place where I'm often involved with the park is permits. So anything that comes out of this plan that you end up building, please reach out to me at least a few weeks before you plan on building it to give us a chance to review it.
That's very that's very helpful. We shouldn't ask for forgiveness. We should ask for permission. Well, I guess there's two categories here, and with you guys in terms of perspectives. And maybe the first question for me is, good working relationship with the park district. Feel like that there's a good communication between the two bodies, that we can solve problems, get things done. It sounds like you guys have worked through a lot of different issues and topics, and there's still some anxieties relative to the residents of town complaining, Dan, about parking issues. You get that?
It's not a huge concern. It's just from time to time it comes up.
Yeah. And how about I want to talk a little bit with Nabil about the water treatment facility. Clearly a very important, and security is obviously of the highest concern there. We experienced it firsthand as a little group as we were walking around the facility on your camera, and somebody came out and asked us what we were doing.
Right. We're landscape architects. Yeah.
We'll check the video. We still have it. We have a tape somewhere. We have it on a hard drive.
So are we encroaching on that? Is there problems that operations of the park that are impacting that security, or are we doing the right things, or are we doing the wrong things?
No, I mean, from the occasional person who is sunbathing naked that we have to call the park district to get him off our berm, nothing really else as far as security that we've experienced. So it's been security wise, I think it's been pretty good. Occasionally high schoolers who may sleep the night at the beach, get up in the morning, may throw a can or something over the fence or something, but nothing really, nothing important, nothing like big. So from the security perspective, we haven't had any issues. And we have cameras, so sometimes we will, like inquire about why somebody is hanging around the place. But it's always going to be a concern, just because it's a park and that's where people come, and it brings a lot of different people. But it's not it hasn't been a big issue for that.
Yeah, is there a kind of what I would call a perimeter minimum requirement just defined by your fence, or is there some sort of perimeter sense of enclosure that you want to make sure that's maintained? I think about the beach side. I mean, our focus in many respects is the beach side of your operation. While we think about the street side, which is parking, I think that impact is more on the club, Michigan Shores, than it is on the park district. On the beach side is our sailing beach. And sailing and boating and all those activities have only grown over the years and been expanding. The demand is greater. I think we'll continue to see that with the fact that people have nothing better to do except be outside and enjoy life, because there's not a lot of other venues for the time being. That sailing beach, how does that impact you? Are there concerns to that, the way it's operating today? And
not the way it's operating, but our concern would be the fact that we have underground utilities. So we have two of large intakes that go through the sailing beach portion. And we also have the, what do we call, a zebra mussel control, which is smaller pipes that also go along the same direction of the beach. So that would be the concern, any permanent structure or things of that nature that would impact our access.
Yeah. Is there and maybe I'm leading this, I'm looking at my little map. I recognize that there's also an access easement that's behind there, that between our property and your property, we've given you kind of a access easement along that area. Are those pipes definable in terms of where they're going out from the facility? Because I don't know that we have those. I mean, are they further down the beach to the north, or are they in the middle, or?
You know where the roundhouse building is, right?
Yeah.
So generally there are two large pipe. One is about 33 inch and the other one is 42 inch that are going east to west around that area, from that roundhouse to the lake. And they're generally close to each other. And in maybe, 2 to 5 years, we have to replace one of those pipes. So we will need access to that beach again to replace, the 33 inches is going to be 100 years old and in about 10 years. So we need to start planning replacement of that pipe and that intake.
How deep is it and how far out does it go?
One is about 5,000 feet into the lake, and the other one, the older one, is about 3,000 feet. And they are about 10 to 15 maybe feet underground.
Okay.
So as it relates to like improvements, your concerns would be about like if there was proposed structure or some other thing being proposed, but then it's just understanding that you guys have that we need that infrastructure there and to be aware of it. And is there like a zone around it that you're like, just don't even get within this zone? Is the easement actually defined?
I don't know. I have to take a look at it. I think, and maybe Steve correct me, but I think the easement and there was back in the 1970s, early 70s, when the new intake was put in, there was a trade-off between the village and the park district, where the park district got access to the sailing beach area where they store the boats. That's actually a village property, my understanding. And in return, we got the easement on the sailing beach. I don't know the numbers. I mean, I can take a look at it. It's been years since I looked at that agreement, but I'm not really sure as far as
I'm with you, Nabil. Like your concept is spot on for what I know. I don't know exactly where everything is. I know you have the subsurface easement for the pipes, the intakes and everything. And then there's the access easement. And when we talk about access easement, I think maybe, Nabil, it's also because of the road. the roadway that wraps around the
Sure, I
water
forgot
plant?
about that.
Because
Yeah.
you can speak to the details better, but I believe that's how you take deliveries. And so we kind of have to work together on all of our planning to make sure we don't impact that ability for you guys to receive supplies. But I don't know all the details. So if you could talk to that a little, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you. I completely forgot about that. But yes, we do have the road that goes around, and it's an access to our loading dock, and that's where we get large deliveries. For some reason, I thought that road is always there, and but yes, that's definitely part of the need that we have is to our loading dock.
Mhm.
That's east of your facility, on the beach
Correct.
side.
Right.
Yeah. It goes along the berm on that side.
We do have a graphic that kind of gives an overview of that easement. Would that be useful to take a look at?
Sure.
Sure.
I'll share
Yeah.
that. Really. Can everyone see it?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we could zoom into that area a little bit more, maybe. There.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Yeah.
This is the road.
So that's the road, and that other section to the beach going east, that would be where the pipes are.
Mhm.
Right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
Do those pipes go down the road? What would be a straight line of the road, even though it's curved?
Which road?
Like, so if I took that easement that goes out into the lake and I connect it back to your water treatment facility, does it come down? Tom, go directly west right there. Keep going down. No.
West.
That's north down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There.
Does the pipes go through that road or straight through that uncolored area there?
No, it goes into our property, the uncolored area. So there is the roundhouse building right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the pipes terminates in that building. The other one goes slightly west in front of our building. So that's where the pipes terminate.
Got it. So they're in that area right there.
Yeah.
Okay. And the berm on the back, if we go back to that berm, or Tom, back to that thing, because I'm always curious about that little berm area. Yeah, that whole area. So where's the fence is where the dashed line is, or does the fence go all the way up to that easement? I can't remember offhand.
I think.
No, it would be the fence. It would be just around, just at the end of the easement, I guess. There is the road, and then there is a berm, and the fence is right on the berm.
Is on the berm, but isn't there some green space from the edge of the road to the fence?
There is some, yeah. And the reason for the berm,
Yeah.
let me just explain the reason for the berm, which brings another concern. It's flooding.
Yeah.
So east of our fence, we have our finished water storage facility, underground tanks.
Yeah.
So when the lake is high, flooding could be a concern.
Right.
And I think with the new design with the beach house and the parking, and with the lake being very high last year, we have experienced flooding areas that is coming all the way to almost the front door of our water plant. And I don't know if that's something that you guys gonna look at down the road as far as the infrastructure improvements, if you're able to minimize some of that flooding. But that's the purpose of the berm, and why we have it there.
Can we mark with just a little arrow, Tom, where we think this flooding comes to, so we can understand that? So are we coming all the way up to where the dashed line is, or are we coming up?
No, the water will go all the way up to past our, now this is on the road on Lake Avenue. So it will go through all the way up to our
Front door.
gate,
Yeah.
our gate.
Oh, okay.
So that area essentially is flooded. And again, it seems to be worse with the new improvements, but I can't say that 100% because also the lake is higher than it has been. So I
Right.
can't blame the new improvements, but I am aware the lake is higher than it used to be as well. So don't know which one is which.
So I can jump in and give a little more context, Scott, as to where this is happening. So Tom, if you see the east-west run for the pipes there, you come right up through kind of just to the south of that towards the swimming beach. And you see where, yeah, now keep going just a little bit north there, or a little bit towards the lake, I mean, I'm sorry. Right in there, a little bit, we have that big kind of natural sand vegetation area.
Yeah.
That was in our design because that is the absolute low point of our beach. And
Right.
so we know that's where water runs up the most just because that's how it is. And so we try to catch as much as we can in this natural sand area and let it percolate back down into the sand. But to Nabil's point, with the higher lake levels and with the storm last year in January, with the high winds and the high lake levels, the parking lot on that end flooded pretty well. We had to, I called one of Nabil's coworkers to say, we got to get some of these village vans out of here before they start getting flooded. And it was all the way up to, you see kind of the maintenance building. It's almost in line with the maintenance building between the water plant and the maintenance building. One of the two lanes, the one closest to the water plant, was holding most of the water. You could still drive down Lake Avenue in the right-hand lane and avoid water for most of the duration of that. But it definitely got pretty close to their gate, if not all the way across it.
Got it.
Is it an issue of it was after a big storm event, or is it a high water table issue where the water is coming from almost below and it doesn't have anywhere to go?
No, it's coming from the lake. It comes from the
so it's
lake.
actually, yeah.
It's
Yeah, so
overland wave action with high winds and high lake.
Yeah,
It's surge, right?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. High waves
You guys are still
days that
keeping
will
your
do.
sand.
Yeah, it's the nice part about having a flat beach is we keep our sand, but at the same time, it allows for it to run over the top of it during certain events.
Right. Okay.
And part of the other issue too is that for us operationally, that street, Lake Avenue, and the where the Steve was mentioning this, the vegetation and so on, the drain in the streets, because we are on the beach, the village does not have a system to take that water anywhere. It ends up back into our water plant, so that the drains in that area are connected to pipes that goes inside our parking lot, where we have what we call a wet well 1, which is basically underground storage. It's meant to take the stormwater and the roof drains into our parking lot and goes into that storage and get pumped up from our area with pumps up the street. So what happens during the high flooding areas is that we get overwhelmed with that water, not only from the rain, but also from the lake. So
you have the lift station that pumps it out. There's no lift station connected to the Park District storm sewer in that sand pit in that area. It all rolls
not
back
that
to
I'm
your
aware of.
lot,
Steve,
and then
you don't have a lift
it.
station, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's no lift station for storm water. We do have a lift station kind of at that bike and pedestrian entrance just to the south of that, where those handicap parking spots are, that takes care of the beach house and Lakeview Center for sewage, but no stormwater pumping right now.
Yeah. Okay.
And certainly it's not an issue with the storm. It's just during those days when the lake is that we're pumping the lake down, which is, it was overwhelming to our pumps because we only have 2 pumps in that station. But that's operationally where an issue like that. And again, as Steve mentioned and I mentioned, is that the lake was at historical high last year. So whether that is going to repeat itself or not, it's unknown. The odds are, since we were at historical level, is that we will go down. But you never know, and that if there are plans in the future for any kind of infrastructure improvements is something that to be looked at.
We are 8 inches lower at this time than we were, or now than we were at this time last year. So we got that going in our favor.
We will go down just because we did not have a freeze over of the lake. And that always helps.
Yeah.
When the lake freezes, it maintains its water. I think I read a statistics that in one day, water evaporation of Lake Michigan is more than all the facilities in Illinois, including Chicago, pumps in a whole year. So this is how much effective evaporation has on Lake Michigan levels. So when it freezes, there's no evaporation. And this is where our levels went up in the last couple of years, is that we've had kind of a cold winter in the last 5 years.
Do you have any, or can you share, are there any long-term major improvements to your water treatment facilities or long-term strategic direction for how you're going to handle water for your community in the future? I know that, there's a lot of discussion between Winnetka and Glencoe, and Kenilworth shut their deal down, and everybody's moving and talking about water and different, because it's a massive asset for a community to have.
Sure.
And now people are starting to talk west of us of how they can get a hold of our water, and people are thinking about reinvesting in their water treatment facilities to handle demand further west and get revenue, right? I mean, everybody's looking for, so is there a long-term strategy for this facility that we should at least be knowledgeable about?
Nothing as far as the expansion, the footprint of the facility. We've gone through the inquiry of seeing demand west, and we have added 2 customers, including Kenilworth and a utility called North Main.
Yeah.
So we are comfortably confident that as far as expansion and demand or adding new customers, I think we're pretty much done. But even if not, and we need to expand because we added new customers, there are technological ways that we can expand our capacity without expanding the footprint.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we feel very confident that there's no need to expand the footprint. And the only thing that, as I mentioned to you, is capital improvements, and that would be replacing the intake pipe.
Right. Is there, and maybe that's a question for Dan, are there any major infrastructure initiatives planned for anywhere in or around our park that we should be aware of, that if in fact we are going to be doing something, we could accelerate a timeline, or we need to wait and get in line? I know you guys are doing the bike and active transportation planning, and we're certainly going to rethink our circulation patterns and how we can integrate all these different modes of transportation. We'd want to do that so we're consistent with you. But if there are capital dollars aligned anywhere else in you guys' budgets, is there something we should be aware of so that we're doing something smart or putting ourselves in the right place?
No, I can't think of anything surrounding the park that's planned right now.
Let me ask you guys this question, because it's it'll be one of our stakeholders. Do you have any connection with, or is there any of these facilities that you're working on or running the water, or I know utilities? How well are you connected or regulated by MWRD? To what degree? I know stormwater, obviously, but I mean, are there any relationships in and around us that are tied to MWRD that your operations are working off of?
I can start talking first, Dan, if you don't mind. We do. There are 2 things that MWRD considers us as industrial user. So we have they come in on a regular basis to read our meters, and twice a year we clean our basins. So from the treatment process, we accumulate what we call sludge, and sediments that we twice a year. I know, Steve, the word just
very technical term.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a technical term.
Fertilizer.
It just caught me off guard, Nabil. I'm sorry.
So we have to, twice a year, we have to pump that sludge out, and that's where we pay the big bucks to MWRD. So it costs us about maybe $100,000 a year for cleaning our basins. And during that time, they also come in and have a monitoring stations where they sample the sludge, and they sample and they monitor the flow. So to answer your question, the short answer is yes, they consider us as industrial users, and we have to comply with that part.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, we're trying to develop a global conversation around what does MWRD mean to all of us, and so I wanted to understand what it meant to you guys. Dan, how about you? Just through permitting and stormwater, pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think you guys are aware they have some pretty major facilities right adjacent to the park, with their sluice gates and the channel, upstream end of the tarp. They have a major intercepting sewer going down Sheridan Road that they're planning rehabilitation of soon. Yep, so we have to convey all of our wastewater to them, and anything we do in the village needs their permit. That's sewer related.
And do you, and from the standpoint, you guys, who do you work with? What group do you work with over there? I mean, I know there's different groups of people in their structure. Do you work with the stormwater folks? Do you work with regulating and permitting? Do you work with real estate? Do you work with
all the above? For me, it's permits. We do deal with their real estate. We have some easements within their property, but generally it's with their permit group.
Okay.
Yeah, for us, it would be the industrial user unit as well. For permitting purposes, we refer to either our engineering department, or if we're working with a consulting firm. But on the other side, we use the industrial side.
Got it. And no, and any other than the bike and trail and multimodal type of planning that you guys are doing, are there any other big initiatives that the village is looking to do or sponsor? Best management, sustainability? I know there's so much discussion around stormwater in the community now. If there's things that we need to be aware of from your perspective as we're doing things that, you know, this is a buzzword you need to put into your plan so that we're aligned properly?
Yeah, like and maybe even code changes or things that have been discussed at the village level that you guys have been, you know, talking about doing or implementing.
I know I think Environment and Sustainability Commission, maybe they're working on a sustainability plan right now. I know I reviewed a first draft, you know, here maybe just like a week ago. And there's always interest in doing things with sensitivities to the environment. Stormwater runoff is always has been a focus really the past several years. And I don't have as much concern with your property because it's kind of running off into the lake, and you don't generate as much runoff that would be discharged into the village's combined sewer system, where we would have concerns because we do have homes connected to those, and any additional runoff could generate increased frequency of, you know, basement backups. But anything you could do to incorporate cleaning, like the first flush of rainwater runoff before it discharged to the lake. If there's overland flow, and I know like point source discharges would be heavily regulated, and you'd be required to clean those before they were discharged. But yeah, just being sensitive to additional runoff that the village rights away, and then anything you can do to enhance sustainability efforts of the park district, I'm sure would be well received.
Are you guys are you guys doing a retrofit or a long-term change out of all of your street lights in the community? Or are you staying with what you have? Are you going to an LED? I know you're doing some work in the downtown right now, but I don't know if you're changing out fixtures or.
I know we've been going to LED. I'm not sure how proactive we are and if how soon that's going to be accomplished. I know we're keeping with the green lights that you see on our east side of town. I know we've been switching out LEDs everywhere else we have the opportunity, but what the time frame is for that turnover, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was a global movement towards, from a cost, long-term perspective, maintenance and cost that you guys were moving towards. I know there's a lot of people in the particular neighborhoods that want to keep the flavor of the way it is right now without changing it. So.
Dan, speaking of lighting, there's an upcoming Go Green Wilmette Dark Skies seminar. Is that at all a part of the Environmental Commission's kind of outline draft that you saw to move that way and potentially incorporate that into the zoning codes? And I know zoning isn't your thing, but you actually saw the plan, so I'm just curious.
I did, and I don't recall seeing specifics about lighting within the rights of way.
Okay.
Any other things that we're missing that we're not, you guys would say, hey, boy, I wish you would think about this. I wish, I wish the Gillson could have this. I wish there was, we could, we've got a game plan here. And one of the thoughts I had in the back of my mind, Nabil, is that, that area behind where the road access is, and we talked about the little berm back there, to what extent might we be able to use the berm? And not necessarily to build on, but use that space just to have a little bit more flexibility in our beach area. And I don't have a plan. I don't have a vision. I guess I'm just testing the idea, because our next step is going to be at some point, once we gather all the information from everybody, share it with the board, we're going to move forward with some ideas and concepts, and we'll share those. We're going to get back together with you and share all the ideas. But what we don't want to do is put something out there that it's a non-starter, and we're going to light a fire under anybody. That's not the game plan here. This is based in reality and achievability and sensible planning. So that's why we're talking with you. If there's something you say, hey, not going to happen on my watch, we'd like to know. On the other hand, we want to at least try and push the envelope a little bit and see if we can eke out a little bit better solutions or space accommodations.
I think if whatever idea that may come out of it, as long as it improves on the protection of flooding, we would be open to it.
Great.
If the idea is to minimize the berm for better viewing or whatever, and that would increase our risk, then probably it's non-starter. But as long as it incorporates ways that actually improves the protection, then obviously we'd be very welcoming to it.
That's great.
Great.
Yeah.
Steve, any other thoughts you have in terms of just
I do have one for Nabil, and it's probably really small, which is why we haven't brought it up. But since we're all sitting here talking about planning and thinking, and might as well cover even the little things. We do partner with the water treatment plant as far as the water quality testing that we do for our various beaches. Nabil, anything in that we should be aware of that has been in your head of we need to change this, we need to change that, or anything on that topic at all?
No, I think that is still doing well. I know that we switched back to the regular methodology, and which is fine. No concerns whatsoever, Steve. So
okay,
good.
I just wanted to make sure it was still working. It's been a couple years since I talked about it, so just wanted to make
sure. That's all good.
I have a question. I have one question for you, Nabil. Do you get any desires or ideas from the community to dress up or landscape or deal with what I would call the streetscape portion of your facility?
The most that we've gotten is to convert our roofs to green roofs. I think that is one of the probably the biggest thing. At times, we also have gotten requests from groups, I can't remember that, and I apologize, I'm not as diverse as Dan with the community groups that do planting, that they wanted to come in and do some planting. But the problem with those is that once they plant them, they own them, and they're always in and out, and so we kind of don't want that to happen. As far as the green roofs, we did install green roofs on our new constructions, which we just finished last year. But that's only on the new areas. It would be, and we have a lot of roof areas, and we are very aware of that. And but that would be the most requested item for us as far as our landscape.
And Nabil, do you really get that from anyone other than the club across the street that wants to have an enhanced view over the top to the lake? Or is that my take is that's only coming from them, because that's the only place I've heard that discussion. So I didn't know if that was coming from just the community at large, or from a Go Green contingency, or some other angle.
It's mostly from the Go Green, really, that I've heard. And if they, the club did talk to the groups to try to influence the decision, that probably would be the case. The last time we changed the roofs, it was at least 10 years ago. And at that time, green roofs were significantly more expensive. And, we had the Great Recession and things of that nature. So the village was not willing to, these roofs are very expensive. It cost, probably cost us about $1 million for all the roofs to be rebuilt last time we went through this. So we still have about 10 to 15 years to worry about it again, but probably, if the green roofs are more affordable and practical, because, under those roofs we have our treatment facility, so we don't want to compromise that as well.
Yeah. I think they have they're going in the direction of being lighter and less expensive over time.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the cost was very, very high, the difference last time we went through this. So it was a non-starter. The other part is that we have other group of people who want us to put solar panels on those roofs. For some reason, these roofs are very in demand. There's a lot of people have a lot of ideas what to do with these roofs. So the other idea is the solar panels, and I cannot imagine that will go in the community because it's a large area for the solar panels. I mean, that's a lot of panels. And with if we put panels on all of our roofs, we still cannot power one pump.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
it may look good. It may look good, but it's just not enough power.
Well, it sounds good. It sounds good. Maybe not look good, and to a lot of people, it's the discussion point that people bring up, right? And as we talk about green infrastructure, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm curious, because you do have a lot of real estate, but most of your real estate is roof or lawn, but there's also the concern from your neighbor across the street that wants to maintain visibility out to the lake. So I'm sure that they'd have some concerns about I mean, the green roof is a great idea. It can't really hurt anything, but the solar panels would be a totally different ball game.
And the other part is that these lawn area are really not lawns. There's a lot of underground storage tanks underneath them. So we really don't want to do anything because there are roofs underneath.
Right.
So a lot of people look at that area and it's like, hey, we need to do stuff with it. Let's put solar panels. Let's put, windmills and so on. But it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Is that on both the east and the west, or mainly the east?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. The only area that does not have underground tanks is the area right next to Michigan Avenue on the upper, but there are a lot of pipes in that area.
Okay.
This update focusing on Gillson or the lakefront itself?
Say it again, Dan.
The plan update is focusing on Gillson Park, or
It's focusing on the park, and there's been a kind of a side-by-side collaboration of the lakefront being looked at the same time and in real time to kind of coordinate them. But our focus is kind of the beach house back and then all the way down to the dog park area. There's a lot of different systems going on here. One is that whole lake, which is a dynamic system all to itself that we could get stuck in forever and never get back to the other topics in the park. So we're focusing on, we got a lot of other little projects in the park we need to get updated right now too.
Is there anything as users, you two probably visit the park fairly often, that you would like to see in your experience? Nabil, you're driving down Lake Avenue all the time, and I'm sure that you're very familiar with that stretch. Is there anything that you'd like to see?
Not that I can think of. I mean, free passes would be nice. That would work for us.
There you go.
Let's shoot your shot. I agree.
But no, I mean, I think the new parking lot looks beautiful. The lighting and everything else that is in there is really nice. No, it's a beautiful park. It's certainly a very for the community it's a significant asset, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, how about you? Anything in the?
I don't visit the park often. I visit the properties north of the park quite a bit, but as far as permit work is concerned, and that's why I had a question of whether you're looking at Langdon or not, and just there's always been this community expectation that you can walk between the two parks, and I wasn't sure how it's signed at the north end of Gillson, if it's like leaving Park District property, you're entering private property, or if there's any thought to kind of.
You mean walking down the beach?
Yeah.
You mean coming in by the old dune area and then walking down the beach and sneaking in?
Or people leaving the beach to go walk along the private property.
Right.
Is the Park District helping to foster the expectation that should remain walkable, or is there something they can do to communicate that their patrons are leaving public property and entering private property? So,
that's a huge issue up and down the whole lakefront, because there are those who say if I've got a foot in the water and a foot on the sand, I'm in public space.
Right.
And that water line and that beach line keeps changing daily out there. And so, people are going to push it. I think the Park District, as part of our project, we're looking at signage and wayfinding and, that kind of stuff. I think there's an effective communication that we can say to our patrons that, this is private, in quotes, private property, respect the rights of the property owners. I don't know how you stop them from doing it unless you enforce it. And enforcing it means you need to put effort and people and a bunch of other stuff behind it, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't think anyone's interested in enforcing it, but just helping to make clear the rights of the private property owners. Might be helpful. Might reduce the amount of phone calls I get about construction along those 18 or so properties between your two parks, and then we have our property too. So
no, we get it. The big concern out there right now is all these people that are building their own private embankments and groins and jetties, and those are becoming walls to being able to block off your zone from somebody else's zone, and that's going to become a big issue down the line. I think it's and unless you pay attention to it, it's out of control right now. If you stand back and fly over the lakefront, everybody and their brother is doing it, and it's going to look like a giant rock quarry in no time soon.
It makes you wonder what it will do to the lake as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've had the benefit of the harbor kind of accumulate all the sand, north of the
Yes.
harbor. And people have experienced it for all these years. And you go to other communities up and down the shoreline and they don't have as much walkable beach as we do. So it's great for the community.
It is. It's a true unbelievable asset that you have it. And I think you may even acquire more sand down the line by virtue of some of these abutments that are going into the lake. They're going to create a different lateral sand movement that's going to end up right back at your jetty anyhow, down by the dog beach. And, that could change our thinking a little bit too. All right. Well, guys, any other thoughts? I'll tell you, we're just at a listening, gathering information stage. We're going to want to get back together with you as we develop some ideas. So we would hope that you'd invite us back in virtually or in reality, hopefully at some point in time, to share our ideas and get your feedback on it.
Sounds good. Thank you
Great.
guys for
We
inviting us.
appreciate
Yeah,
Appreciate your
thank you
time.
for the time today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
All right.
Good one.
Thanks so much.
Take
All
care.
right. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.